Welcome to the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast, where we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to exit your highly appreciated primary home, business, cryptocurrency, save a failed 1031 exchange, and create and preserve more wealth. I'm your host, Brett Swarts. Each episode, I'm joined by some of the best real estate, financial, wealth, and business minds in the world, where they share their ideas, deal stories, and inspiration. So together we can make complex tax deferral strategies simple and passive income plans achievable. We're also streaming on expertcresecrets.com, expertcresecrets.com. That is our new YouTube channel. And from time to time, we have certain guests on the show that really fit both very well. And today is no exception. In fact, our next guest is with Coldwell Banker in the beautiful Huntington Beach, California. He offers his clients the benefits of more than 15 years of experience in real estate and mortgage lending. He has handled many complex transactions for his clients, including short sales, bank-owned properties, and luxury residential properties. While he was at Remax, his previous company, he successfully handled a large number of transactions, which helped him to achieve memberships in the Platinum and 100% clubs. He is a graduate of the Realtor Institute and so much more. Please welcome to the show with me, Jeb Smith. Hey, Jeb, how you doing?
I'm well, man. Thanks for having me, Brett.
Absolutely. For our listeners, get to know you for the first time. Would you tell us a little bit more about your story?
Yeah. So, been in real estate almost 20 years at this point. Came from a background of mortgage lending, owned the mortgage company for over 10 years, went through the last housing, quote unquote, crisis at that time. And, transitioned my business, from that time of mortgage lending primarily into real estate and became full-time real estate agent. Was doing a lot of short sales, a lot of foreclosures, a lot of bank-owned short, all of that good stuff back then. And, it really helped me learn the ins and outs of the market, but I'm a student of the market. I'm constantly trying to learn, trying to better myself, trying to understand. I'm a numbers guy. I'm a computer science major. So, I'm always trying to find the math in it, because to me, math makes sense. And I, use that to help my clients, achieve their real estate goals.
Amazing. Love that. And we're going to dive into some of that math and trying to make sense and getting a fresh outlook and perspective on the real estate market, because there's a lot of moving parts in today's marketplace. But before we go there, Jeb, I want to take one other step back, perhaps go back to the high school days or the younger child days. And, I believe we've all been given certain gifts in this life, and these gifts have been given to us to be a blessing and help to others. Some people call them strengths, some people call them superpowers. But I'm curious, what are those one or two gifts that you believe you were given, and how does that help how you help bless and help people today?
Honestly, I believe I'm an educator. I was given a gift to lead. I have a hard time thinking of myself as a leader many times, but I find myself often trying to educate my clients, just educate those around me, whether it's agents in the business, buyers, sellers, my kids, just constantly trying to explain things in ways they can understand them, so that, they're in a better position to make, the right decisions. And how that translates into real estate is, better financial decisions, not trying to time the market, not trying to do certain strategies, and a lot of people right now are trying to figure out, trying to time things, like trying to, buy at the bottom, sell at the top, or vice versa. And I'm more there just trying to educate those people and guide them through the process in a way they can understand it.
Amazing. You can learn more about Jeb Smith at jebsmith.net. That's jebsmith.net. He also has a pretty rock and rolling YouTube channel. Just look up Jeb Smith. So Jeb, let's dive right into maybe the number one thing that you're seeing right now. Help us get a fresh perspective on, you can talk about residential real estate, you can talk about luxury real estate, you can talk about investment real estate. Just kind of give us your perspective on what we're seeing in today's marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's going to translate into all of those, right? Residential, luxury. It's really investment. I don't know that any piece of that puzzle is not going to be accounted for when talking about the market at the moment. And obviously, Southern California is a lot like we're seeing in the rest of the country, and that's a hot housing market, right? A lack of supply, high buyer demand fueled by low interest rates. The lack of supply goes back to just the last crisis when they put restrictions on home builders. And then just, now you've got all of these things happening in the market where people are able to work from home. They no longer have to drive into the office. They can move out of state, still have the California income or maybe an income from another state. And, you've got all these factors playing in, and you got a lack of supply, right? And that lack of supply now is also being fueled by a lack of building due to those restrictions back in the days, but also a lack of lumber, higher material costs, so on and so forth. So we're seeing, here in Southern California, and in fact, I just got out of a real estate conference where I was networking with, 700 plus top real estate agents across the country. And it was a similar conversation amongst all of us. And it was, multiple offers on most properties going above the asking. We're seeing a lot of people, having to waive contingencies and do certain things in order to be in the best position to get their offer accepted. And in most cases, we're talking multiple offers and homes going above the asking price when they're priced correctly.
Excellent. Yeah. And so let's get a little more micro too, since it's capital gains tax. Yeah. And I agree with you on all the stuff you said before. I like to always say that I'm not in the business of even selling real estate, although I'm a California real estate broker, started Marcus & Millichap, multifamily broker here in Sacramento, or even the business of selling capital gains tax solutions. I'm in the business of solving my clients' problems and challenges, right? So when it comes to the luxury or the higher end homeowner in Huntington Beach, right? Bought the house 25 years ago for, $250,000 and it's worth, $3 or $4 million. What's the biggest frustration when it comes to capital gains tax deferral?
I think for one, obviously that tax deferral, being able to roll it into something else, be able to find the right property. I think more so if we're going to go micro on it, I think there's, a lot of those buyers that bought those property 20, 30 years ago, are in a position now where they're actually looking for property to maybe move into, and they're not able to find it for one reason or another, right? Just because of the lack of supply. And so in my market, you actually, believe it or not, you have a lot of these people sitting, right? A lot of these baby boomers or whoever aging in place to some extent, because what they live in now actually makes a little bit more sense than what they could potentially get for that same amount of money. But to answer your question, with regards to the capital gains, that's clearly an issue when you making over that 250 or that $500,000 threshold, and potentially having to pay that gain on selling, an investment property or what have you. And then obviously you can probably educate us a little bit more on potentials to come, right? With this infrastructure plan, how does that play out? Because that really affects potential capital gains, and more so in the line of business of you trying to protect clients' assets and so on and so forth.
Yeah, we'll touch on that in a minute with the Biden proposal and what's going on there. But you're absolutely right. With our clients, the baby boomers, we did a deal at Cupertino, Palo Alto. We're doing one in Atherton, Menlo Park. These are like the Silicon Valley area, Northern California. And one of the common themes is people are looking to relocate to next to their grandkids, or move out of state and maybe retire. And there's these life events that are happening, right? And they have all this equity piled up in this house. And they may be real estate rich, but be cash flow poor, right? And so this, like Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, he says that your house is actually not an investment, it's a liability, right? An investment, in his definition, is something that's producing cash flow and that's paying you, right? And that's that is a big reason why people want to sell, to unlock that equity, but they feel trapped by this capital gains tax. So yeah, we do have a solution. And by the way, what Jeb was referring to is what's called the 121 exclusion. If you lived there 2 of the last 5 years in your house, and you're single, you got a $250,000 capital gains tax free. Pretty sweet. If you're married, 500. So let's say you bought a house for 500,000, it's worth $1 million. You're married and you sell it for $1 million. Guess what? Zero capital gains tax. But if that same property is worth, let's say, $3 million, guess what? You're going to have a $2 million gain, and that's going to be hit in California, for example, if it's a primary home, 33%. Now, what Biden is proposing is taking the federal capital gains tax rate from 20 to basically 40. Right now it's 20. State of California is 13.3. And so that same seller who would have paid 33% on $2 million is now looking at paying 53%, right? So it's even more painful. So we'll see if it actually passes. Some of these things, it's to speculate. It's really too early, but you have to consider that person who wants to sell, wants to relocate, but does feel trapped by that capital gains tax. And by the way, you can go to Capital Gains Tax Solutions to learn about how we solve those challenges for those primary homeowners, to learn about the Deferred Sales Trust. That's capitalgainstaxsolutions.com. But besides that, what other creative ways have you found, Jeb, to help people with capital gains tax in your career?
If it's on an investment property, it's one thing, right? I mean, it's obviously easy to roll that over, into another like type property, right, and avoid capital gains. I mean, I know you're a big proponent of the Deferred Sales Trust, and how those work. Honestly, not super privy to those. I found out probably in my career. I've been doing this 20 years. First time I heard about them was about 2 years ago. So I'm not highly educated on them, but I would love to hear more about it from your side, to be completely honest. I mean, I understand how they work, but on a primary residence, that's not an option, correct? It's just on investment property.
So you're correct for the 1031 exchange. And by the way, what you might be referring to, some people get the DST, they hear about that, and there's a Delaware Statutory Trust, and that's just another form of a 1031. So that might be another one you were confused with. So in sense, yes, a Delaware Statutory Trust, which is a 1031 exchange, does not qualify for a primary home. However, a Deferred Sales Trust, which is not a 1031 exchange, it actually uses a tax code called IRC 453, which is a form of a seller carryback. That is available, in fact, for the primary houses or cryptocurrency or a business. And 1031 only works for investment property. And by the way, Biden is talking about limiting that or taking that away as well. So then there's nothing for property owners, but I think for us, right, for the main part, unless you want to give it all away to charity. So a recent deal right now, Jeb, we just did, that a client did, was another one, a primary home in Newport Beach. And this couple, they were getting a divorce, needed to sell, and they had a $6 million liability above and beyond their 121 exclusion. It was their primary home. And so they use the Deferred Sales Trust to not only sell and defer, but now they're living off of the interest. And what happens is the government says, look, as long as you put it into Deferred Sales Trust, it's in a deferral state. You still owe the money. It's just deferred, and we charge you 0 interest on this 6 for as long as it's in businesses, in real estate, and investments. And on the interest, you pay ordinary income tax on it, kind of like an IRA, kind of like a 401k. So I don't know if you were referring to the Delaware or did you really hear about the Deferred Sales Trust 2 years ago?
No, I really heard about the Deferred Sales Trust 2 years ago. But quite frankly, I mean, that's good information. I'm not super familiar with it. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. If you could answer a question on it, what happens if those people pass away, right? So tax hasn't been paid. It's in this trust. Does it then pass on to the heirs without the tax consequences, or?
Close.
Okay.
So it's inside of a living trust. The kids can step into their shoes. And when they step into their shoes, they remain in a tax deferral state. That's our first structure. It's a DST regular. So they just continue the tax deferral. And by the way, most parents, I would think, but it's up to them. They don't necessarily want their kids just to cash out and go spend the money, right? They probably want something that's going to have some kind of tension between keeping it invested, living off the cash flow, and just cashing out and paying all the, let's say $1 million of tax. So they can step into their shoes, tax deferred, and continue on. The second one, which has unlimited, build up, you can do as big of a deal as you want. We just did a deal for a client in Colorado. They're worth about $25 million. They sold about a $5 million apartment complex, and they moved it outside of their taxable estate. And for that one, they inherited estate tax free and capital gains tax free. So it's a nuance to what we do. So the answer is yes. but it depends on how we structure it and how you put it inside of your living trust. It takes some estate planning as well. So we can accomplish that.
No, good stuff. I mean, there's a lot of property that's going to be sold that has a lot of equity, right? I mean, we've got more equity in property now than we've ever had before. And so a lot of it's, to avoid those taxes, and is, if you can do it, it's the way to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what we're doing. So back to the 1031 exchange though. So for your clients that are doing those, what's the biggest frustration with the 1031 exchange, or especially when it's a low inventory market, right? And prices
Right.
are so high. No. I feel like I'm calling folks, even this is back in 06, and hey, I love the 1031 exchange, but go find me that up leg, or I love the 1031 exchange, but I don't want to run out of time. So what's the biggest frustration that you found for your clients for the 1031 exchange?
No, I think you nailed it. It's identifying a property, right? In that 90-day time frame. Just with a low supply at the moment, there's not a lot of property out there, as many of you know, and finding something that fits the bill in that time frame, and actually, not even getting the offer accepted, just identifying it is hard enough. And I think in this environment, getting something accepted, I mean, you can be a cash buyer, you can be as strong as the next guy, but when several people want what you want, you're having to do things that you wouldn't normally do, sometimes go above and beyond, and you could be the strongest, most qualified buyer out there, investor out there, and there's no certainty that that's going to happen, which in terms could set you up for failure and tax consequences if you're not able to make that happen.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Yeah, we call that the shotgun wedding, right? You get engaged in 45 days, you get married in 180. But our parents taught us to sell high and buy low, not sell high and buy higher 180 days later, right? So again, I love the 1031. I'm a broker. I still do those. It's just, I hate having to have my clients feel pressured to overpay for a property that they know intrinsically on the value and on the forced appreciation and on the cash flow they wouldn't have bought anyways, except for this big tax, 30 to 50%, right? Capital gains tax depreciation recapture. Which leads into my next question, Jeb. Diversification, liquidity, and getting out of debt, right? You were in the lending business, right?
I was.
You saw the whole thing kind of just flip, right? Not to say that this is going to happen, Lord willing, it doesn't happen like that. All indications seem to be pretty strong at this point. But how important is diversification, liquidity, and getting out of debt when there's uncertainty and not sure how long this bull market's going to last?
I mean, I think it's probably the most crucial step of that process, right? I mean, not having debt in times where things go wrong, you don't know the outcome. Being able to control your monthly output, if you will, provides for a lot more security on your side. Be able to sleep at night, not have that anxiety and what have you. I mean, now, if we're completely transparent here, I mean, come March of last year, I don't have any debt outside of my mortgage. But come March of last year, I was a bit worried, right? I mean, government shut down, had listings cancel, had buyers, back out of escrow. I started looking around going, what happens if this continues for 2, 3, 4 months? I mean, I have assets I can pull from different places, savings, what have you, but how long can you do that? How long can you continue, without some sort of additional passive income? And even with that passive income, maybe it comes from a rental property or comes from somewhere else. And now they've been told that you can't be evicted, and now that income is no longer coming in. So there's a lot of things that happened last year that provided clarity for me in many ways. And one of those was, making sure you have passive income coming from somewhere, making sure that, that whatever your debts are, you're able to make sure you cover them. I mean, what happens if this were to happen again and it was a longer term, stay at home order or what have you? I mean, the only reason we're not in turmoil is because there was so much fiscal stimulus pumped into the economy, add lower interest rates to that, or low interest rates to that. And in turn, it provided so much stimulus to the economy that it actually went the other direction. But to answer the question, I think, having no debt, you need passive income, being able to control, what goes in and comes out, it provides, I don't even know the right word I'm looking for here, but just peace of mind, I guess would be what comes to mind.
Yeah, no, very well said, Jeb. I can't agree with you more. By the way, you can learn more about Jeb Smith at jebsmith.net. We're talking about getting a fresh perspective and outlook on real estate and also some capital gains tax challenges that have been facing some clients from both of ours. So, Jeb, now let's dive back into your business a little bit more now, too. So, just the real estate profession. You just got done with 700 other real estate professionals, perhaps at Coldwell Banker. You're learning, growing, challenging one another. What's the number one challenge facing the realtor, the commercial broker, the luxury realtor right now? What do you think it is?
I think more so than anything is just, I mean, from my perspective, it's a lack of supply. It's a lack of supply for one, but it's also, if as a professional in this business, one thing I've always been able to rely on is being able to provide my clients with feedback, guidance, and really kind of lay out a game plan for how the transaction should go, where a property should sell, where your offer should be, whatever it is, however you want to lay that out. And right now, even as a professional, somebody that continues to educate myself, continues to follow the market, so on and so forth, boots on the ground, at times it almost feels like we don't know what we're doing, because it's just people are doing things that I've never seen in almost 18 years of doing business, and there's no rhyme or reason to it in many ways, outside of obviously I think there's a sense of FOMO going on, and people are seeing appreciation at rapid pace and don't want to miss out. And so you've got all of those factors in, but the things you can't control are, like you mentioned a moment ago, those life events, people moving for one reason or another. And you never know why somebody might pay, 100,000, 150,000, whatever the number is, above a property's value in some cases, because maybe somebody lives next door, maybe mom lives down the street, or whatever it is, and there's some reason people are willing to do these things. And we've never seen this sort of thing, at least where things are moving this fast and there's this many people willing to do it. So I think from my perspective, that is a common frustration. I mean, the event that I went to wasn't Coldwell Banker. It was actually a Buffini event, Brian Buffini. And, this is where, 1 out of 8 real estate agents, we're networking with people that sell 1 out of 8 homes in the United States. So these are high producing real estate agents. And we're all having the same problems, regardless of whether you're in California or Florida or, Utah or wherever. It's just, not knowing how to guide your clients is one of those frustrations, along with a lack of supply for buyers.
Yeah, very well said. I couldn't agree with you more. And Brian Buffini, for those who don't know, one of the, if not the top, one of the top real estate professional coaches in the world, really. So amazing. Thank you for sharing that insight, Jeb. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh man, I guess. Let's do it.
Knowing what you know now, Jeb, if you go back to your 25-year-old self, what's the one golden nugget you would make sure to tell yourself to do?
Stay patient, man. Just stay patient. I want things quickly. I want things done. And the older I get, the more I realize that things will work out the way they're supposed to work out.
Awesome. Number one book you've recommended or gifted the most in the past year?
Wow. I will say the one I've gifted the most in the last year is Chop Wood, Carry Water, Joshua Metcalf.
Chop Wood, Carry Water. I like the name already. Number 3 question. Favorite leadership quote or theme that you strive to live by?
I wouldn't say I strive to live by, but it's a constant reminder. And it actually comes from Brian Buffini, and it's the days are long, but the years are short. And when the grind gets tough, you remember that, it's a day that, the time goes by fast. And I think that translates more into my kids' lives, right? Having 3 young kids, I think you have 5, it goes by quickly. And just, remembering that, while it can get tough, stay true to what's going on, because it goes by in a flash.
Love it. Biggest opportunity. We talked about some challenges for the realtors, but what's the biggest opportunity for realtors or right now? What do you think?
Oof. Biggest opportunity for real estate agents. Wow. Now you really threw me. Let's see here. I don't know that I have one, man. I think just staying consistent, right? I mean, I think that everybody wants to get caught up in the hype of, taking advantage of they think foreclosures are coming. Everybody wants to switch their mindset and do the shiny object or what's going on. But I think the biggest opportunity lies in your relationships, right? Staying true to who you are, continuing to nurture those that know you, like you, trust you. You'll have a super profitable business, and your business will be consistent over the long haul.
Love it. Great answer. What are you most curious about right now?
Affordability, housing affordability. I that's one of the things that I struggle with when thinking about the housing market. I'm less worried about supply and demand and interest rates and all of that, because I think it's somewhat controlled, and I don't think anything major can happen with that in the short term. When I say short term, next couple of years, but housing affordability is becoming more of what I see as an issue, and not necessarily an issue as a whole, but for first time home buyers, right? Where I see the disparity, the gap starting to widen is those that are really in the entry level houses, which here in Southern California are really starting to disappear. And I start to wonder, how that all plays out in the long run.
Yeah, so do I. Absolutely. Last question. After all your success, Jeb, and helping all the clients you've helped over 20 years in the lending and real estate business, and your family of 3 and everything else, how do you stay centered in your values, and how do you stay encouraged to charge forward to reach for new heights?
Faith, right? Continuing to get coaching, business coaching, writing goals, and really just trying to stay true to myself, right? Stay true to what's important, which for me is family is definitely first. And I prioritize those over my business all day long. So I just try to stay centered around that, and the rest will take care of itself.
Amazing. Jeb, for our listeners who want to get in touch with you, would you remind them one last time where they can find you?
You can go to my website, jebsmith.net, or on YouTube, just search my name, Jeb Smith.
Awesome, Jeb. I want to thank you for being on the show, giving us a chance to get to know you a little bit, sharing your wisdom and some guidance here on what's going on with the marketplace. I want to encourage you to keep using your gifts of being an educator and leading others and making things simple so they can make great decisions in real estate. And I also want to thank our listeners for listening to another episode of the Capital Gains Tax Solutions podcast. As always, we believe most high net worth individuals and those who help them, they struggle with clarifying their capital gains tax deferral options. Not having a clear plan is the enemy, and using a proven tax deferral strategy, such as the Deferred Sales Trust, is the best way for you to exit your high-end primary home. Your business, anything that has high capital gains tax, you can go to capitalgainstaxsolutions.com, and you can also go to experttaxsecrets.com if you are in the real estate profession or financial advisor, and you can learn how to use the Deferred Sales Trust to grow your business. Thanks everybody for listening to another show. Please rate, review,